when these extraordinary events that take place, like the time that we are recording is when America and Iran are going at each other, and there are neighboring countries as well. Does any of that keep the custodians of these undersea cables up at night, that, hey, we got to keep one eye there, who knows what might happen?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of cables that go through the Strait of Hormuz. As it is a choke point with oil, it is also a choke point with data. So much for data as a new oil. There are a lot of data centers clustered around that area. I think Amazon and Microsoft definitely each have data centers of their own, and they rely on these cables to stay up and running. So I think definitely there's a lot of people who kind of flag this concern again and again. And in fact, a couple of years ago, there was a very similar concern raised about the fact that the Houthis in Yemen would try to cut, or had perhaps already cut, some cables in the Red Sea area. And I don't think anybody ever ascertained one way or another that they were responsible. So I should say that up front. But there were definitely cable outages at the time over there in a cluster that made it difficult to believe that it was sort of accidental. So I think
Hmm.
people are certainly worried. I mean, as they are worried with shipments of oil and natural gas and helium and so on, they are also worried about the potential for a sort of cascading effect of damage when a bunch of cables are cut at once, which basically breaks that trunk of cabling between Asia and Europe.
Yeah, that Houthis example, I was reading an article in The Economist which said that they bombed a cargo ship whose anchor apparently dragged along the bed, and it may have broken.
Right.
That may have been the cause, but there is no way of knowing whether that was a deliberate act of sabotage something. Yeah, and
Yeah, it
that's
was
where
a
you
bit of
said
that.
it's difficult to tell the difference between the two.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of this is now, put down to what is known as gray zone warfare. And what they mean by gray zone warfare is it happens when countries are not openly at war with each other. Now, US and Iran are openly at war, but let's say, Russia and Norway are not openly at war with each other right now. But it is entirely conceivable that the Russian government will ask or sort of deck up one of its naval vessels to look like a fishing trawler, to go out there and kind of drag their trawling apparatus around the seabed and cut cables on purpose. Now, you can't ascertain with entire confidence that that is a Russian naval vessel
Hmm.
or that it has been given these explicit instructions by the Russian government. You can surmise, but the uncertainty of all of this, the ambiguity of all of this is why, I like this term gray zone warfare quite a bit, because I think it really signifies, it captures the fact that much of what happens in our world today is happening in these kind of liminal zones of friction and conflict.